In this video, I'm going to cover the necessary components for a quality informative speech, as well as give you some examples and tips and tricks to ensure that you know what those components should look like in your informative speeches moving forward. Okay? So we're actually going to break our informative speech down into 3 different sections: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. This is likely similar to what you're used to. Maybe you've taken an English class in the past where you were writing a paper and you broke that paper down into those same different sections. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover the necessary components for each one of those. Okay, so we're actually going to start with the introduction. Okay, there are 5 components that should go into a quality introduction for an informative speech. We have an attention getter, an introduction of the topic, a statement of relevance, a statement of credibility, and a preview of your main points. Okay, so let's cover those in that order. Let's start with the attention getter. The way I see it, there's 3 surefire ways to get the attention of your audience. Okay, and we're going to cover them, right, in reverse order. So what I think is the 3rd best way to get the audience's attention, the 2nd best way to get the audience's attention, and finally, the best way to get the audience's attention. Okay, so what I believe is the 3rd best way to get the audience's attention is through a question. Okay, but not just any question, right? Or not even maybe a provocative question, but I believe that you actually need to shape a problem that the audience faces in the form of a question. Okay, so instead of getting up there and asking, hey, how are you doing today, right? Instead, I might ask the audience, how many of you wake up in the morning with a list of things you want to accomplish and you just don't quite have enough time by the end of the day, right? That's a problem that I face, and I know people that are in a similar phase in their lives as me would also face that same problem, right? So immediately, they're likely going to be glued to the speech. Not only because I'm relating to them, but also because I've implied that I may have an answer to that problem. Okay? Now, it's up to me to actually give a solution to that problem throughout my speech, or I'll lose them, right? But that is how you successfully use a question to gain the attention of the audience. Okay? And the 2nd best way to get the attention of the audience is with some sort of shock value. Okay? Now, this could be a shocking fact or statistic, but in our culture, it seems like we've almost become numb to those things now. It seems like we've become so good at creating shocking statistics that we almost don't even fully grasp how shocking those statistics actually are. Okay? So, a really good example of somebody utilizing shock value in a very good way would be if I were going to do an informative speech on the benefits of cussing, right? And I got up there, and before I said anything else, I just started cussing up a storm, right? It's likely going to shock the audience. They're likely going to be like, wow, I'm not used to that. What is happening next? Okay? So that's a good example of how to use shock value to grab the attention of the audience. Okay? Now, the best way to get the attention of the audience is the best way to get a kid to pay attention. I have a young niece and a young nephew. And both of them, when they're paying attention the best, is when I say the words once upon a time. Because they know a story is coming. Okay? I firmly believe a story is the best way to get the attention of the audience. Now, it needs to be a short story, and it needs to relate to your topic in some way. Okay? Which actually ties into the next component for your introduction, which is your introduction to the topic, right? So you tell a story, okay? And then you actually have to connect that story to what your topic is, right? So if I tell a story about how I lost 50 pounds through proper diet and exercise, and then I actually reveal the topic by saying, today I'm going to talk to you guys about living a healthy lifestyle, right? Now I've connected that story to my topic, and I've revealed what my topic is. Okay, so that's the 2nd component you need. You need to actually tell the audience, this is what I'm going to be talking about today. Okay? The 3rd component of the introduction is a statement of relevance. Okay? So in order to have a successful statement of relevance, you need to ask the question, ask yourself and then answer the question, why should the audience care about this topic? Okay, so if I'm using that same topic, living a healthy lifestyle, right, I might highlight all the benefits that you could be taking advantage of if you started living a healthy lifestyle. For example, higher quality of life, a happier lifestyle, right? People who are healthy sometimes tend to be happier, okay? Better quality of life, right? I might highlight all those things to ensure that the audience knows, oh, wow, there's some awesome benefits to this. I should listen to this topic. I should care about this. Okay. The fourth component of the introduction is a statement of credibility. Okay, if you're watching this video for my Fundamentals of Oral Communication class, your credibility statement can be as simple as, I researched this topic for X amount of hours, right? Now, if you're looking for a better statement of credibility, right, which you might be, a really good example would be to demonstrate some sort of involvement in the topic, right? So if I'm talking to you about the proper way to kick a soccer ball, and I've been playing soccer since I was 5 years old, I'm definitely going to mention that, right? Again, that makes me some sort of an authority on the topic if I've been playing for 22, 23 years, okay? So there's your statement of credibility. And then finally, the last component of the introduction is going to be a preview of your main points, okay? Now, this can be as simple as, today I'm going to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, okay? Now, these are the 5 components that everyone should have in their introduction if they want it to be a quality introduction to their informative speech. Now that we've covered those, let's move into the body. For the body, you must have 3 main points. Don't have 2, don't have 4, don't have 1, don't have 5. Have 3 main points. Okay? Now, how should you organize those main points? There's a lot of different ways you could possibly organize those main points. For example, if you have a speech that flows together chronologically, right? So if I talk to you about working out, right? And my main points were the proper way to warm up, the proper way to perform these exercises, and the proper way to cool down, right? That's just chronologically the way it would go. I would go into the gym, I would warm up, I would do my exercises, right? And then I would cool down, right? Another way that you can organize these main points, if you have 2 that are stronger than another, put a strong one at the beginning, a strong one at the end, put your not quite as strong one in the middle, okay? Now, for these main points, it's important that you support each one of them, right? So if I'm talking to you about how to properly warm up for a specific exercise, right, I'm going to go into great detail, okay? So make sure you're supporting each one of your main points, okay? The next component are going to be transition statements, okay? Now, transition statements are something that get you from one main point to the next, okay? So if I were using that same example, and I wanted to transition from how to properly warm up to how to properly perform these exercises, right? An easy transition statement might be, now that we've properly warmed up, it's time to move into our actual workout, right? That takes us, we know very clearly, Gabe's going from warming up to actually performing these different exercises and performing this workout, okay? Right? So that's a transition statement. So it should be main point, support for that main point, transition statement, next main point, support for that main point, transition statement, next main point, support, transition statement, okay? So what can you use for support of your main points? Well, there's quite a few different things, right? You can use your own personal experience. You could use the experience of an expert. You could use statistics. You could use some sort of testimonial. And ideally, you're very well-rounded in your supporting materials. So maybe you use some sort of statistics and you back up those statistics with some sort of testimonial or personal experience, okay? So those are the components of the body. Again, 3 main points, support for each one, and transition statements in between those main points, okay? For the conclusion, okay, you need to recap your main points. So in the same way you previewed them, where you said, today we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, you need to recap your main points in the same manner, right? So to recap, today we talked about X, Y, and Z, right? Today we talked about how to properly warm up, how to properly exercise, and how to properly cool down, right? It's a very clear recap, right? And this immediately signals to the audience that the end of the speech is coming, okay? A great thing to do in your conclusion is relate the topic back to the audience one more time, right? So again, say, here's why you should care about this topic, right? It ties it right back in and makes it hit home, right? Again, here's why this information is valuable, okay? And then finally, you need to leave the audience with a lasting impression, okay? This can be rather difficult, right? You can leave the audience with a lasting impression in a number of different ways. But a really good way is to hit them with something that's very meaningful at the end, right? So imagine I get done, right, talking about how to properly live a healthy lifestyle. And at the end I say, I hope you follow these steps, because at the end of the day, you're the pilot of your own life, and you could have a fantastic quality of life and live a happy life, or you could die young. The choice is up to you, right? Now, that's a rather dramatic way to end a speech, right? But again, it's something that the audience is going to remember as I walk off of the stage, okay? So that's what we're looking for when we're trying to leave the audience with a lasting impression, okay? So those are the necessary components of your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. Make sure you have each one of those if you are performing some sort of informative speech. I promise you it will make your speech flow very, very well and make it very understandable. Thanks a lot, guys.